Okay, so right now I'm going to show you guys exactly how you need to carve your design for printmaking. So the first thing you need to know is that this would be called your plate. Okay, this is made out of linoleum, which is basically the same texture and feel and rubbery kind of stuff that erasers are made of. And really we can cut it. So you could have a piece that's like this, like a postcard size. We could cut it down to a square, or if you wanted a smaller, like a rectangular piece, we could use that. We could even cut that in half so you have a little square. So those are your options. Okay? Now when you're going to carve something, you're going to use, this is the tool you're going to use. And if I shake this, you can hear there's a bunch of stuff on the inside. So if I were to unscrew the end, oops, and then shake out what's inside, I'm going to find all of the different attachments to carve with. Now they all have different numbers on them. So if you look at that wider part in the middle where it bumps out and you look really closely, that's where you're going to find a number. So this one is a 2. You can, it's not really focusing because it's so shiny. So that one's a 2. The largest one is a 5. Okay. And the skinniest one is a 1. So if you compare those two, that's the 1, that's the 5. And that's the sharp end. The end where my thumbs are, that's the curved end that's going to push into your handle. Okay? Now, we also have this one. You are not going to use this at all. Okay? This is basically a blade. This is what I use when I cut these two pieces apart. Okay? So we're not going to use that one. I prefer to use a 3. That is right in the middle. It's a pretty good size to do anything that you'd like. So I'm going to put all of the rest back in the end of that and screw it shut. Now, to get the blade attached onto the handle, I need to loosen up this end. So if you see that kind of rough part and twist it, you're going to loosen up this end. Now, I want you to look inside there. Okay? You should see a circle, almost like a circle. Come on, focus. Yeah, a circle with like a smiley face smile underneath it. Then if you look above the circle, you're going to see another really skinny smiley face smile. So when I have this loosened up, the round end of my blade is going to push in between that circle and the skinny smiley face line. So I'm loosening it up, and then I'm going to push that in between the circle and the smile, the skinny smile, and then I'm tightening it back up while keeping this pushed down as far as it will go. Alright, and now I'm ready to go. So to practice, I want you to use this linoleum piece I have in there that says practice on it. Okay? This way you can figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And when you're carving, you're going to hold your carving tool. This has kind of a V in it. The sharp bottom part of the V is facing down. And then I'm holding this with my dominant hand, which I'm right-handed. So I'm going to hold it from above. Okay? Not like a pencil, but from above, so that this bigger round part of the handle fits right inside our hand. Okay? And then you're going to imagine this is like a plane. How planes land and take off, they do a gradual landing and a gradual takeoff. That's what you're going to be doing. So if I have this, I'm going to gradually, I'm going to go down, I'm pushing, and then I'm lifting up. Okay, and then you just kind of drop your little pieces down there. And you don't want to go into your hand. Okay, if we do look in the crate.
Skinner, you have a call on 5. Miss Skinner, you have a call on 5.
If you look in the crate, you'll find a black L-shaped piece of metal like this. That is meant to go on your table. And then you can put your linoleum there so that it's pushed up against this flat wall. And then when you're carving, it's pushing and pushing, but it's really keeping it on your table without you having to have your hand there. And if your hand is there and you're carving, you're going to hit your hand. And I have definitely had kids kind of have some little bloody cuts on their hands because they're carving right into it. And some people are like, I don't care, I'm tough. But let's just avoid all that. Use this, and that will help you have this hand. You know, you can kind of hold the corner here if you want to, but then you're not ramming into your other hand. So again, if I'm carving, I'm going to push down. I'm going to go straight or follow my line, and then I'm gradually lifting up. You do want it to be a deep cut. You don't want to do these really skinny lines, because what's going to happen when we roll our paint onto this, it's going to go in little skinny cracks. If you really do not want something, you know, if you really want a line to be a very clear line, then you need to carve it nice and deep. Okay? Now what you need to think about while you're doing this is everything that you are carving, all the things that you carve out, those things are going to show up white. The things you do not carve are going to show up black. Okay, so it's the opposite of what we usually do. Usually we use a pencil and we draw, and everything that comes out of the pencil is going to be black. This time, everything that we carve with the carver is going to be white. Okay, now for some people it helps if when they start, they take their block and they'll just paint the whole thing black. So then they know what they're carving out. They know exactly what it's going to look like. I've used this one before, so I know that this is how it will look. But I purposely made this a cicada, which those come out at nighttime, so it's a black sky around it and a little star in the sky. Okay? Now, the next thing you'll need to do is come up with your design. So what I would do, I would take a piece of paper that is a little bigger than my block, and I would trace my block onto the paper, and then I'll know exactly how big my linoleum is, so that I can design whatever I want to design on here as practice. And then when I'm ready and I know what I'm going to do, you can draw it directly on the linoleum and then carve your pencil lines out. Okay? The only thing you need to realize, if I was going to put my name, okay, I'm just going to put an R. If I carve this out and stamp it, it's going to come out backwards on my paper. So if you want to have actual words, they're going to have to look backwards on your stamp to show up correctly on your paper. So here's an example. I did a raffle ticket and I put ticket on it. I had to carve it backwards in order for it to show up correctly on my actual paper. So this, if you have questions about this and how to get your letters neat and how to get them backwards in an easy way, let me know and I will help explain to you a good trick to get those letters on there. Okay? So that is a little bit about printmaking. A lot of times people do purposely have lots of little lines so that we can tell that it's carved. So you don't always have to carve down a completely empty background. Sometimes people will have marks so that you can purposely tell that it was carved. Okay? So, for example, this one, if you look at their sun, they did some cross-hatching in there, going in both directions so we can see that it's carved. They also didn't totally carve out their sky, but they got most of it, but we'll still see some little marks here and there. Okay? And then for the tops of their trees, they didn't just do an outline like they did in the clouds. They did the outline of the trees, and then they did lines going one direction, then another for a different tree, switching directions. That's a really good idea if you have two things that are next to each other and you want to make it obvious that those are two separate things. Okay? So I hope you are excited to print make. There are other ways that you can do printmaking, okay? This one is a fun, different way. It's not going to guarantee to get you a clean picture like the other ones. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise. But basically, you start with a cardboard plate. Okay, this was a linoleum plate. This will have a cardboard plate. And you take all different textures, cardboard, string, whatever you bring in from home, and cut those shapes out and glue them onto your plate. The only thing is they all have to be the same height, okay? So that will guarantee that they all push down on your paper at the same time. So this is a different way to create a design. Definitely more experimental, but I like the process of it. I like, creating this design on the cardboard, and then when I'm done, I would have this as a separate piece of artwork. Sometimes the plate is fun to keep as well, a whole different sort of art. Okay, so there are 2 types of printmaking, and I hope you enjoy learning it.